Hey everyone, and welcome to Stealthy vs. Healthy, the podcast where we uncover the stealthy problems teens face and explore healthy, science-backed strategies to tackle them. Today, we're diving into one of the most universal habits out there, procrastination. We'll break down why we procrastinate, why it's especially bad for teens, and most importantly, how to beat it. So if you're tired of hearing the same old just use willpower advice, stick around, because this is going to be eye-opening. Let's kick things off with the million-dollar question. Why do we procrastinate in the first place? It's not just about being lazy or bad at time management. It's actually rooted in how our brains are wired. And for teens, it's even more pronounced because our brains are still developing. Here's the deal. Your brain is designed to seek pleasure and avoid pain. It's called the pleasure principle, and it's a basic survival mechanism of ours. When you're faced with a task that feels overwhelming, boring, or stressful, your brain interprets it as a threat. Not a life or death threat, but a threat to your emotional well-being. So what does it do? It nudges you towards something that feels good in the moment. For teens, this is amplified because their prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for planning, decision-making, and self-control, is still maturing. Meanwhile, the limbic system, which controls emotions and rewards, is fully active. This imbalance makes teens much more likely to chase instant gratification, like scrolling through TikTok or playing video games, over long-term rewards, like studying for a test or finishing a project. And here's where dopamine comes in. Dopamine is the brain's feel-good chemical, and it's released when you do something enjoyable. When you procrastinate by doing something fun, like watching YouTube or texting friends, your brain gets a quick hit of dopamine. It's like a little reward for avoiding the hard thing. But the more you do this, the stronger the neural pathways become, making it even harder to resist procrastination in the future. Fun fact, did you know that the word procrastination comes from the Latin procrastinare, which means to put off until tomorrow? And ever since I learned that, I've been trying to picture Julius Caesar stuck in an endless feed of memes and cat videos. Okay, so we just learned why we procrastinate, but why is it such a big deal that we do? Because the consequences of procrastination can range from maybe submitting an essay late to depression. First, let's talk about the biological consequences. When we procrastinate, we're not just avoiding work, we're setting ourselves up for a stress overload. Procrastination often leads to last-minute cramming or all-nighters, which trigger the release of cortisol, the stress hormone. Now, cortisol might help you power through a deadline, but over time, chronic stress can wreak havoc on your body. It can impair your brain function, making it harder to focus and learn. It can weaken your immune system, leaving you more susceptible to getting sick. And it can mess with your sleep, which is crucial for brain development, especially during your teenage years. Procrastination can also mess with your dopamine system. When you constantly chase short-term rewards, your brain starts to expect more quick hits of dopamine. This makes it harder to find motivation for tasks that don't give you instant gratification like scrolling TikTok does. Over time, this can lead to a lack of motivation, low self-esteem, and even symptoms of anxiety and depression. Procrastination can also take a toll on your social lives and relationships. If you're always putting things off, you would miss deadlines, show up late, and let people down. Over time, this would make you seem unreliable, and it can strain your relationships with your friends, family, and teachers. Plus, the stress of constantly playing catch-up can make you irritable and withdrawn. And let's not forget the social pressure that teens face. When you're already juggling school, extracurriculars, a social life, procrastination can make everything feel all the more overwhelming. Fun fact, studies show that procrastination can spread in groups. If your coworkers or classmates are procrastinating, you're more likely to do it too. Apparently, misery loves company. So now that we know why procrastination happens and why it's so bad, let's talk about how to break the cycle. There's 5 main strategies that I have for you today. Number 1, time boxing. Instead of focusing on finishing a task in its entirety, which can feel overwhelming, set a specific amount of time to work on it, maybe 30 minutes. When the timer goes off, stop, even if you're not done. Just stop. Here's why this works. By breaking the task into smaller chunks, you're making it less daunting for your brain. Plus, when you finish that 30-minute session, you get a little hit of dopamine from the sense of accomplishment. Over time, this helps rewire your brain to find satisfaction in the process of working towards a goal, not just the end result. Number 2, the Pomodoro technique. Some of you have probably heard of this one, but here's how it works. You set a timer for 25 minutes and focus on one task. When the timer goes off, you take a 5-minute break. After 4 cycles, you can take a longer break, maybe about 15 to 30 minutes. This works because it aligns with your brain's natural attention span. The prefrontal cortex can only handle so much sustained attention before it needs a break. By working in short bursts, you're giving your brain a chance to recharge, which helps you stay productive without burning out. Fun fact, the Pomodoro technique was invented by a guy named Francesco Cirillo in the 1980s. He used a tomato-shaped kitchen timer because Pomodoro means tomato in Italian, which is where the name comes from. If you don't have a Pomodoro timer, just use a phone timer. It's not a crime. Number 3, gamify your tasks. This one is similar to the brownie point system we all had as kids. Turn your to-do list into a game by giving yourself points or rewards for completing tasks. For example, you could earn 10 points for finishing a homework assignment or 20 points for studying for an hour. Once you hit a certain number of points, treat yourself to something you enjoy, like watching an episode of your favorite show or playing a game. This taps into your brain's reward system. When you associate tasks with positive outcomes, your brain starts to release dopamine not just from the reward, but from the anticipation of the reward. If you've taken a psychology class, you might realize this is similar to what Ivan Pavlov discovered with his experiments on classical conditioning, where he trained dogs to salivate when a bell is rung by associating it with being fed. In this case, you're training your brain to get excited about completing tasks because it knows an enjoyable reward is coming. Over time, this can make even the most dreaded tasks feel more enjoyable. Number 4, set smart goals. We've all set vague goals like, I'm going to get better grades or I'm going to be healthier, only to give up after a week. This is where SMART goals come in. SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. For example, instead of saying, I want to get better grades, try, I want to raise my math grade from a C to a B by the end of the semester by studying for 30 minutes every day. This breaks down big, intimidating tasks into smaller, actionable steps, making it less overwhelming for your brain. Number 5, prioritize sleep. This one isn't exactly a strategy, but sleep is a huge factor in overcoming procrastination. When you're well rested, your prefrontal cortex functions much better, which means you're better at planning, making decisions, and resisting distractions. On the flip side, when you're sleep deprived, your limbic system takes over, making it much harder to resist procrastination. And there you have it, 5 ways to outsmart your brain and actually get stuff done. Remember, your ability to stop procrastinating won't be built in a day, but with these tools, you'll always be one step closer to victory. Alright, let's do a quick recap before I start procrastinating on finishing this recording. Why do we procrastinate? It's not laziness, it's part of your brain's way of avoiding pain and chasing pleasure. Teens are especially prone because their prefrontal cortex is still developing. Why is it bad? Biologically, it messes with your stress hormones, dopamine, and sleep system. Socially, it can strain relationships and make you seem unreliable. How do we beat it? Use strategies like time boxing, the Pomodoro technique, gamification, setting smart goals, and prioritizing sleep. So the next time you're tempted to put something off, ask yourself, is this task really as bad as I'm making it out to be? Or is my brain just tricking me into doom scrolling Instagram for the 47th time today? And if all else fails, just remember, your future self will thank you for starting now. Or they'll curse you for starting too late. Your choice. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with that one friend who's still working on last week's to-do list. And don't forget to follow so you don't miss our next episode. Until then, stay curious, stay focused, and I'll catch you next time.